One Piece chapter 1153. Like, oh man, I got mixed emotions, man. So we are definitely getting a redemption. This is a blind reaction, by the way, but like we're definitely getting a redemption for Loki. Because wow. First of all, his mom, Idrit, I believe, total baddie. Like, wow. Like, absolutely. And yet, at the same time, like Hadruden's mom, not so much, but ended up being the better person. Like, one is good for you, the other one ruins your life. You know, it's what I'm thinking. Ruin my life. But I sound so fucking shallow for that. But let me be serious for a second, right? So I can't believe it. Like, I really can't believe it. Like, my knee-jerk reaction was, okay, like, Loki is gonna get redeemed. And yet, at the same time, I also just felt very bad for him. Because to have a mom that shallow, where she looks at you and she calls you a monster, I don't care about her reasoning. But to have never been loved from birth, and for her to go as far as to say, tell everybody that the baby was stillborn. Wow. Wow. Like, I know I can be shallow at times. But holy shit. When I tell you, I went from like going Sanji, like, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous, to holy crap, I want to kick her in the face. I want to pull a Luffy the way Luffy was slap boxing with Vivi. Like, that's how angry I got. So let's just back up. So this chapter opens up and we see more of how Harald used to be before he got changed. And he's a total asshole. Like, again, you see where Loki got it from. He was a total asshole. He was terrorizing people and he was looking at it like he's superior to them because he's so much taller than them and he's so much stronger. He was destroying everything. And when they finally get to where Ida is staying at, and he's looking, and he's like, wait a second. A giant is being turned into a sideshow. Little does he know that she was just working, playing a part. He gets super pissed off. And that's where we see that things aren't exactly what they were led to believe, or that we were led to believe. Because Ida's like, who are you? Why are you acting like this? And when he sits there and is like, I'm the king of Elbaf and I can't allow my people to be subjugated to something like this, she slaps him in the face. And as soon as she did it, you know, my first thing is like, man, hold on, that's super Nami coded. What's going on here? And everybody has the crazy look on their face, but then she says, turn around, I need to apologize because so many people got hurt back there. And when when Harald is sitting there and trying to say, like, look, you know, they're tiny people. What do you care about what humans think? She lays into him and she's like, when I washed up here, these people took care of me. They made sure that I had a job. They made sure that I was taken care of until I was healed. I was happy where I'm at. Why do you call them tiny people? Why do you call them tiny humans? At the end of the day, you're not better because you're born tall. And like, I think they said that she was 10 meters. So that would be what, like 30 feet, 32 feet. I like that, you know, she draws that in there. And she's like, the way that you're behaving is exactly why people are scared of giants. That is why people think every giant is barbaric. And you can tell that like that played a part in how she was treated before this. And what I like on it is that's probably the first time that King Harald had to sit there and really absorb the fact of like, wait a second, is this what other people think? You know, all of us have moments where we get so caught up in our own bullshit that we don't stop to think, how do other people view us? And I feel like that was a very important moment for King Harald. And I do like that. I like that a lot. And so the next thing here is that we see as Ida is helping with the rebuilding. And you see as Harald is watching. He's watching very closely. And after some time seemingly goes by, he says, like, hey, you guys are like used to this. They're in a super small town. It should be like building up a toy model, go out there and work. And that was the first sign that he was changing. And like my immediate thought was like, he's pussy whipped and he ain't got the pussy. And that's not a bad thing, you know, because like at the end of the day, like if you've ever been in love, like love changes you. Love absolutely changes you. And in a case like this, he fell in love without even realizing it. And I think it just goes back to the fact that this was something that she challenged him in a way that he had never been challenged. And that's the moment he fell in love with her. That's the moment that he fell in love with her right there, and he didn't realize it. And that love only built watching those acts of kindness. And so I did like seeing that. And I like how, as Harald is looking and watching as everything's being built, he's like, you know, the way they build things is different, but man, like look at some of these spices they got. Look at some of the things they're doing. We could definitely bring this back to Elbaf. And we see the change happening in Harald. And it gets to a point where even his crewmates are like, it ain't gonna last forever. Like he's definitely changing. It's because, you know, he's looking out at the sunset and everything, like total cliche thing. But Harald has a moment where he says, we're not all as barbaric as you think. We can change. And that's where we see it when Harald gives this speech to all the people that are gathered. He's like, you know, I want to make up for the crimes I've done in the past. Just because we're as big as we are does not mean that we get to behave in the way we are. Like, even though Dorry and Brogy are out there and they're my good friends, we're going to have to rein them in if things escalate too far. You know, we can't become too great of a threat to other nations. And this is kind of like, for me, looking at the change in him here, kind of reminds me what happened with Odin. And the reason why I really like that is Elbaf, Wano, you see exactly what's happening here. When there's change that is afoot, the world government puts their foot down. And one thing that I liked is that when Harald is talking, he's like, yeah, you know, I met the fishmen. You know, their king had a son named Neptune, which is like, oh, I know that name, obviously. But like, it's a nice throwback to the fact that like, hey, you're back in time. And so as he's talking, he's like, you know, there are things that we can do. We can trade with other nations. We can travel. We can build friendships. We can be connected. And that's some Luffy coded shit right there. But all that is something that is very much true even in our own life. You know, I don't think a lot of people, I think people have learned in the last couple of years, but I don't think a lot of people realize that like a lot of what we have here in the United States, which that's where most of you guys are watching the video from, a lot of what we have comes from other countries. You know, a lot of the things that we call American culture is really just a amalgamation of a bunch of different cultures that have blended together because we take bits and pieces of different things and just blend it all together. That's the beauty of our country. And so I do like that. That's what we're seeing here is Harald is like, there are other things we can take from these other nations and really just build our own up, and we can build these friendships. There's something that we can do. And as all this is happening and the changes occurring inside of him, that's when we find out that Hadruden was born. And when Hadruden is born, he's like, okay, well, time to do the right thing. Super old school with it. He's like, time to do the right thing. Time to put a ring on it. And like, no, you can't do that. She's not of royal blood. And then that's where we meet the real wife. You know, because Ida is just a baby mama. Astrid shows up looking like a complete whole full course meal. Big, tall glass of milk. Whatever it is you want to call, right? She's coming in and, you know, she's like, you know, I'm going to love you forever. She's putting the charm on, but then all of a sudden, like, you know, she's showing some Nami tendencies. I was like a fucking hypocrite for this. She's showing some Nami tendencies, and I'm like, wait a second. She's like, good fortune. Make sure you put all the jewels and treasure in my chambers. And I'm like, wait a second, is she about to rob them blind? How dare she? And somebody's like, as much as you like clit rided on Nami, like if that was Nami, you would say, just give her all the treasure. You're goddamn right. But I do kind of like that. That was kind of thrown out there. And it just lets you know that she's not a nice person. Nami is a nice person. I will die on that hill. I told you, I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite. But that lets you know she's not a nice person. And then that's where you start seeing as Hadruden is, you know, informing more about his travels. And he's gone all over the place. Now he's stretched over what looks like a couple of decades now. Now you see that Loki's been born. And she's like, man, I really want to see my child. And then that's where you see Loki. And now I'm understanding why the eyes are wrapped up. Now I'm understanding why the eyes are wrapped up. And it probably goes back to, you know, what happened at his birth. You know, probably being told that story. She took one look at him and she's like, oh, no, that thing is terrifying. That's not a son of mine. Tell everybody that this baby was stillborn. And it's because of like the prophecy that like, oh, you know, your child will kill you. But when she says, throw the baby down there in the underworld, my heart sank. And when she's like, I don't want to bear another child, I'm getting the hell out of here. And it looked like she was packing up the treasure. I'm like, man, I can't stand her. Like, I wanted to just jump in there and start, like, slap boxing right there with her, right there on the spot. It's like, you ain't just leaving with the clothes and everything. You taking the treasure with you, as much treasure as you can take. But you're forsaking your child. And it just shows the contrast. And I like how Oda draws her with a super ugly face because it reflects it. But the contrast comes from, look how she acted to the birth of her child. I don't care about her reasons. Just look at how she acted at the birth of her child. And then look at how Gabon acted. He said, you just gave me Ripley, my greatest treasure ever. A guy that has been across the seas, seen all types of treasure. He had the right reaction. She didn't. And in that moment, when I tell you I got so pissed off, I can't restate that. I got so pissed off. And to see that shot of baby Loki crying, looks like he's been beaten because he's got blood on his face and on his head, and having to survive all that time. And you got as Hadruden's mom is like, I want to see the child. And he's still your brother. And Hadruden's like, that's no brother of my own. And then we find out that this would be the start of Loki's curse. That's what got me. And that, and as well as like the world government blocking the path and kind of closing off, it just shows like they had plans for Elbaf as far back as in. You know, so when Emu was talking a few chapters ago, that's why. But I'm understanding why Loki acts the way he acts now. I really do. This was a much-needed flashback. Because I did want to know more about Loki. Obviously, the flashback itself is not over. Because narratively, this hasn't served us to a purpose. But it's given us a lot of meat to work with. So my chapter question to you guys is, how do you feel about the contrast that Oda has been able to present with how Gabon acted at the birth of his child versus how Astrid acted at the birth of her child? And like, I know she fell ill and died, etc. But this is one of the things where it does make me wonder, was Oda intentional there? And so I do want to know your thoughts on that contrast. But so always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.